Good morning, once more. My name is Sandrine Zobu. I am the Executive Director of Invest Africa US, which is an organization that helps to connect US-based investors into African markets. So I'm very excited to be here today. This topic today that we're talking about is building intergenerational wealth, which I'm sure, as many of us know, this is kind of a new concept within the Black community. The way that we understand and spoke about money in the past has always been about getting money and about getting rich, right? But what does that actually mean? And fast forward to today, and we have news that the greatest tennis player of all time, Serena Williams, had created a venture capital firm years ago that she's been investing in startups for years. And you have the great philosopher Jay-Z talking about his real estate investing within his lyrics, right? So we're now just coming up to speed in terms of what it means to build intergenerational wealth, and I think it's an incredibly important conversation to have, and it's particularly important for Black women because as the African American Policy Forum states, the median wealth for single Black women in 2015 was $5. So, and that's the lowest out of any demographic in the United States. And so that's a huge problem for us, and it's something that we have to make sure that we're having conversations on in order for us to truly grow. And so I feel very excited to have these two incredible panelists here to be able to talk to us about that today. So first, I would love for you both to introduce yourselves, share a little bit about your organization, as well as can you speak to what are the implications of not focusing on the intergenerational part of building wealth?
Good morning, everyone. My name is Kathy Ivey. I'm a Senior Director of Inclusion and Diversity at TIAA. TIAA is a 100-year-old organization where we are a full-service financial services organization. We supply retirement plans, retail investment products for colleges, universities, and research organizations. So if you went to a college, if you work at a university, you know TIAA, and we hold your money. We are growing it for you. We are a $1 trillion assets under management organization, and I am pleased to be here to share with you what we are doing as an organization and helping women of color build their confidence as well as their financial portfolios. So thank you.
1 million, 2 million, 3 million, 4 million. Absolutely, the mic is working. Good morning, everyone. My name is Claudio Dipo, and I am very pleased to be here. I've been waiting for this day because this specific group is very, very important to me and to my heart and to my work. I'm a mass mutual financial advisor, and I'm also an investment advisor representative. And what that means is I am required I'm legally required to do what's in the best interest of my clients. Mass Mutual is a mutual company, just like TIA is also an insurance company, but Mass Mutual is a mutual company that we've been around for 167 years. We primarily focus on life insurance, retirement planning, estate planning, and investments. My goal today is to show you why it's important for intergenerational wealth to be taken seriously by Black women, most especially because in my practice I see a lot of gap, in our community and in other communities, and why there is cycle of poverty not ending in our community. So I'm happy to be here, and I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have.
Good. So we all understand that developing a financial strategy for your life is something that can be very individualistic, right? We all have different factors that we have to take into consideration. And I understand that both of you can't necessarily give advice, but are there any all-encompassing tools or strategies that we should be considering?
So I'll start first. Three things that I want you to walk away with when you think about a strategy in building wealth and intergenerational wealth. The first thing is start talking about money. We don't talk about money in our community. We don't share information. We don't talk to our children about money. So that would be the first thing, is to begin to talking about it. We know, TIAA participated in a study, and we know that when children, our children and generations talk to their grandparents, the grandparents have a huge influence and impact on us in terms of saving and investing and how to manage money. So that's the first thing. The second thing is to, and I hope I'm not stealing any of your thunder.
That's okay.
Is to find a financial planner. I heard Lanier mention last night, invest in yourself and pay for a financial planner. And there are a range of financial planners out there, but that is critical to find a professional to help you understand what can you do, where do you stand, how much are you taking in, how much are you pushing out. And the third thing is to think about living within your means so that you can build the generational wealth. There are various products, financial products in the industry that can help you build that. It's more than a savings account. How are you investing? Are you using, a E-Trade for, and I am not promoting E-Trade, I'm just using them as an example, or TIAA to help you build your wealth, and as you think about that. Life insurance is important. That is the easiest, most effective way of transferring wealth to your children or your loved ones. Very easy. You pay a monthly fee, you have it. We all are going to meet our maker at some point, so why not invest in that? And then think about investing in stocks. So those are the three things that I would share with you. Thanks.
Thank you. So to think about all-encompassing strategy, the first thing that you want to think about is what do you want your legacy to be? Okay, that's the number one. I know that it's too early to be thinking about legacy when you're in your 20s and 30s and maybe even 40s, but the people that end up living a legacy didn't start thinking about legacy when they are in their 80s, okay? They started thinking about their legacy when they found their purpose, okay? So that would drive the kind of decisions you're going to make when it comes to whether you're going to need money. Now, money is not gonna buy you happiness. Money is not gonna eventually make you fulfilled, but it's a fantastic tool if you find your purpose to be able to use to accomplish your legacy. And once you start thinking about that, then it's going to affect how you budget. It's going to affect how you save. It's going to affect how you make your financial decisions. It's going to affect how much money you give away. It's going to affect whether you get into the stock market or not. It's going to affect whether you buy a home. It's going to affect a lot of things. So, intergenerational wealth. First of all, in order for you to transfer wealth to the next generation, there has to be a next generation. Usually when I talk to my client when they come in, one of the things I'm looking for is, do you intend to have a family? As a woman. And not surprisingly, people sometimes will tell me, no, I don't intend to do that. Now, what's important to you? Is there a particular charity that you like? Is there an alma mater that you want to leave some money to? What do you want your legacy to be? Just simply because you don't want to have children doesn't necessarily mean you don't want to have a legacy. So once I get that, then I can help them to say, okay, well, what are you going to need? For you yourself to be able to fulfill your dreams and then to be able to leave something behind. But money is very important, okay? If you're going to transfer wealth, you have to first acquire the wealth. And you're not going to acquire the wealth if you don't take certain steps that would help you to acquire the wealth. Now, I'm not, I help people invest in the market, okay, mutual funds and things like that, but That is not the only way to make money, but that is one big way that a lot of people in this room are missing out on. And it may actually be the easiest way to make money, maybe even easier than starting a business. So I'm looking forward to talking to you guys more about it. But that is one thing. When you come to intergenerational wealth, figure out what you want your legacy to be, and then that will drive how you make your financial decision. But you're going to need money somehow.
So, and you specifically touched on a topic that I think applies to a lot of Black women. I think a lot of us know that Black women are some of the most highly educated and the most entrepreneurial group of people within the U.S. And so this concept of ownership really comes around and is really significant when you're looking to build intergenerational wealth. And so outside of those who, own their own businesses, can you speak to other ways that women can kind of embed ownership into their strategies? Are there any other tools that they can utilize in that sense?
Okay, well, I'll go first. So, ownership. Like how they say location. It is important to own, honestly. And when you're owning, one of the very first things that I want my client to get is to redefine what an asset is, okay? If you're gonna own something, would you rather own an appreciating asset or a depreciating asset? Well, first it has to be an asset, right? So, a lot of the time, what I've seen in my practice when I talk to people, and I'm not talking, if there's anyone here, there's a lot of my clients here, but I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking generally. I promise I'm not talking about you. What people buy, okay, is not an asset but liability, okay? To build wealth, you need to buy assets, not liability. And wealthy people who go on and build wealth, they buy assets, and those assets generate cash flow, and they take those cash flow to buy additional asset, and that additional asset generates additional cash flow, and they take that additional cash flow to buy additional asset. Asset is anything that pays you. So if you're going to redefine this asset for the purpose of this conversation, asset is anything that pays you. A liability is anything that takes money from you. So when it comes to ownership, give me an example of an asset. You might say my golf club, my Chanel bag, my Rolex watch. No, because they don't pay you. They sit in your closet, they look pretty, but they don't pay you. They take money from you. The car in your driveway, maybe you need it, but they don't really pay you. Stocks, bonds, mutual funds, they pay you. Okay? They pay you dividend, you take that dividend to buy additional, mutual funds, and then, that additional mutual fund pay you dividend, and then so let us own. Think about owning. And when you're owning, ask yourself a question, is this an asset or a liability? Thank you.
So a couple of things that I want to share around. I want you to think about long-term investing. TIAA's foundation is built on long-term investing. We are a retirement planning organization, and when you think about legacy and intergenerational wealth, you have to think about it long-term. So what are those long-term assets that you want to add to your portfolio? And you want to think about it in the small, because long-term it grows. We have a philosophy that if you invest consistently over time, you will have the greater pleasure of taking advantage of compounding. So that $25 today, invested long-term, will gain you potentially $10,000, in 20 years. So multiply $25 every pay period that you invest over time, you will build that generational wealth. Because the first thing that you want to think about is, how do I have to take care of myself so that I can then pass on that wealth to my loved ones? So that's what I want you to think about, long-term investing. And you start out small, and that long-term investing will reap you a greater reward in the future when you're ready to spend down from that wealth. And then secondly, there's something that I want to bring to your attention, specifically for Black women. How many of us have children, spouses, partners, raise your hands, family members, parents, cousins, nieces, nephews, that we somehow have to take care of, right? Raise your hand. So I would say 75% of the audience raised their hand. We are depleting ourselves because we're taking care of everybody else. So one way to think about intergenerational wealth is you have to take care of yourself first. So you have to invest in yourself. And if you're not well, you can't build wealth. Because if you're not well, you're not earning income so that you can have that long-term investment strategy. So the second thing that I would leave that we don't necessarily think about at the forefront is you have to invest in yourself. You have to be healthy. That means eating right, working out, hanging out with your friends, role modeling those behaviors, because that is also an investment to pass along to our loved ones as well. So thank you.
That's amazing. And it's incredibly important that we take care of ourselves first so that we're better able to take care of everyone else around us. When you're thinking about our strategies and thinking about building out our portfolios, a concept that certainly is incredibly important is the concept of diversification. And so when you're thinking about the assets that you're investing in or where you're funneling your money, outside of the stock market, outside of the investments, what other assets should we be considering or can we consider?
Okay. All right. Outside of the stock market, we need to invest in the stock market first.
Yes.
Because that is very important.
And you can diversify within, and should be diversified within the stock market.
Diversify within, because we're not doing enough of that. That provides us a lot of liquidity to do other things. But outside of the stock market, obviously, the people who like real estate, one of the largest assets you're going to own as an individual, right out of the bat, it will be, your house. And is actually, if you think about real estate from the standpoint of my definition of an asset, is actually not an asset initially. Okay, if you think about it from that standpoint, it's not paying you, especially the one that you live in. Over time, it can become an asset if you appreciate, and then maybe you move out and you're making some rent in it, and then it starts to pay you. But to actually really realize your gain in that real estate, you have to sell it. You could borrow against your equity. But so, when you have an investment property that's paying you, that's a good way to invest. But for the most part, most people will start from their first, building that's going to then help them to buy the second one. In our practice with our company, there's another element of investing that people don't use very well in our community, that other communities have used to transfer massive wealth to the next generation. And she mentioned about life insurance. Life insurance actually is a massive financial asset if you understand it very well. A lot of people in our community see life insurance as, I die, somebody else get money. No way. But that's one kind of life insurance. There's another kind of life insurance that's actually, it's now, when I work with my clients, you use that also as part of your overall portfolio. You have your retirement account, which is your 401k, your IRA, and then you have your investment account, which is what I was talking about. And then you may have a permanent life insurance, the cash value life insurance, in your portfolio as well. And then you have real estate as well. And depending on what your income level is, you could even have a hedge fund investing, a VC investing there if you're an accredited investor. at some point I get my clients to a level where they either have a $1 million net worth, or they make $200K a year for the last 2 years, and they qualify that you can even diversify further by investing in hedge fund and venture capital activities. But a lot of what I've seen in our community is lack of diversification, where someone is saving for retirement, they're not investing in the stock market. So it's essentially cash, retirement asset, and real estate. It's essentially three things in that portfolio. So I would want you to think about how to use permanent life insurance as part of your overall wealth accumulation strategy. And I tell you, I can show you, I see it happen every year and every day. And also there's a massive tax advantage that it gives you.
So I'd like to go in a different direction from products, because I think we have some beautiful, smart men and women out here in this audience, and you know those products: IRAs, mutual funds, stocks, retirement planning. There's something else I want you to think about when you think about wealth building, and it's philanthropic giving. And I know that you don't think about that as intergenerational building wealth and passing it along. But that's part of the role model of the behavior and why grandparents can influence us, because they are givers. I know my grandmother was a giver. She only went to the 3rd grade. My grandmother was born in the smallest little town called Pittsview, Alabama. You cannot find it on the map. You will drive through it if you go to Birmingham. You're going to pass it by. She went to the 3rd grade, but she was the wisest, most giving, caring woman, and did more with little. So that's why I bring that up to say I want to take it in a different direction. Because when you give back, the universe gives you back. So you have to consider that as part of your portfolio in building wealth and generational wealth. Because wealth, yes, we want the assets of wealth. We want the money. We want the property. We want to be able to retire well. Hopefully you will be able to retire and retire on at least 75% of the income that you were earning, right? That's what we all want. We really want 100%, but 75% would be fantastic because you paid off all of your mortgages, your debt. So that's when the part of the heart and the mind comes in around generational wealth. And how are we showing up for our community? How are we showing up to role model behaviors for our children? And it will create that legacy that we hear you talk about as you consider what does that legacy look like for you, what does wealth look like for you. So consider that as a product as well in giving back. Don't you feel better when you help someone else? How many of you feel, yes, I know I do. I love to take my friends to lunch all the time when we go out. I will pay for, I live in Charlotte, North Carolina, so Chick-fil-A is a popular place. I really should buy some stock from Chick-fil-A.
I know. Yes.
And when I'm in the drive-thru, I pay for the person behind me.
Yeah.
I feel good. And guess what? It comes back to me in so many other ways. So think about that as another pathway and avenue for you to think about generational wealth.
Yeah, that's incredible. And I think as you were speaking, it made me think of 3 women, right? Oprah, Michelle Obama, Beyonce, all women who think that way, constantly reaching back. And I guess there's nothing stopping us from being able to think that way now and starting to emulate those types of behaviors.
And if I could share a quick story, and why I always bring this up. There was a woman in Atlanta, Georgia, who was a domestic worker. I think she made somewhere like $600 a month to take care of her family. And she saved over $150,000 and gave that as a scholarship fund to Spelman University.
Wow.
Spelman College, thank you. All right, you got an alum in the audience. And that fascinated me, that she could take $600 a month, take care of her family, build and she transferred wealth. So we can do it. And that really inspired me to begin to give back. It doesn't have to be huge. I would love to have Oprah money and Beyonce money, you know, to give back. But it doesn't take that in order for us to have that philanthropic giving. So thank you for letting me share that.
Absolutely. So we're running out of time, but Lauren, I want to give you the last
So
say.
now that everyone wants to give a lot of money away, then I'm going to help you make that money. I think you have to make the money first, right? So there's something I want to show you because I like numbers. I gave it to the ushers. Can you please quickly distribute that sheet to people? I want them to see this. If anyone has it, okay, please pass it out. I'm not sure we have enough of it. Maybe share with someone. But there's something that we need to understand in our community, okay? I mean, a lot of people in this room, you're extremely fortunate. You've educated yourself to a point where someone would always be willing to exchange their wages for your knowledge, right? But the idea of how do you make money? How do you become wealthy? To me, that's the number one thing that I want you to focus on. And there's something I'm going to show you based on my work, what I've seen, the reason why people in our community, especially Black women, don't invest. And the number one reason is out of fear, because fear of losing money. And two, they don't really understand the economic cycle. And when they hear the word recession, a lot of the time they think they're going to lose all their money. So they sit on the sideline and miss out. So the first thing I want to show you is this diagram right here, which shows the economic cycle. People on this side don't have no one has on this side. Can you please share on this side as well? So you see what this is? This is the economic cycle right now. It shows you where we are, the United States, right? And when the recession might be coming. That is very important for people to know. But when we hear of recession, we think all hell is going to break loose. But if you flip it over, and I'm going to show you why, if you don't remember anything else, just remember this. The red dip that you see below, those are recessions that have happened for 65 years, okay, compared to expansion. And if you look at it, average recession lasts for 11 months, whereas average expansion lasted for 67 months, okay? The GDP growth during the same time for the recession is minus 1.8, while the GDP growth for expansion during the same time is average is 24.3%, okay? S&P 500 returned 117% during those expansion, and 3% average during recession. 12 million jobs created during expansion, 1.9 million created. So the reason why I show this to you, you take this home and put it on your wall. You see how little the recessions are compared to expansion? That's the reason why you should never sit on the sideline and not get in the stock market. Because that's one of the ways you're gonna make a lot of money. Now, this is talking about S&P 500 well-diversified fund. I'm not talking about concentrated in two or three stocks. But if you remain in the stock market forever, you're going to make money. And then you're going to have all the money that she's talking about to be able to give away. But it's a myth to say that you're going to lose all your money in the market. Expansion is a lot more powerful than a recession. Just stay the course. So that's what I want to share.
Thank you. Do you want to wrap us up?
Yes, thank you. So I'd like for you to take a look at TIAA.org. We are a $1 trillion asset under management organization. We do have retail products for the public, but please take a look. And think about these three things: long-term investing, retirement planning, philanthropic giving, and taking care of your own health and wellness. So I appreciate your time today. Thank you for having me. women of color, Ariella, thank you. I so appreciate it.
Yeah, and please follow up with them directly for any questions. Thank you all.